What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 439 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR. Joining me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Alex.
Hello.
Alex, I feel the need to also, it's been brushed over, and this came to me literally right as we were starting. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
Because you've said a couple times, just in passing, oh, hey, yeah, my fiance. And we just let it go. So I do feel the need to say congratulations.
Thanks.
On the upcoming nuptials. I'm very happy. And every time you say my fiance, I do like a little giggle. It's just nice. So anyways, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
If you don't want this on the episode, feel free to cut all this out.
No, it's okay. It makes me happy.
Yeah, it's a happy thing. But we do have an episode to get to. We are counting down toward 450. That's when we're going to be kind of shuttering OMV as it stands. Not really sure what the future will hold. But with that said, we couldn't wrap up without talking to a specific number of individuals who have really helped out the show. We're going to be getting to a lot of them in the near future. But today we're kind of kicking it off with someone who's been very good to us over the years. Not like crazy Brett level appearances in terms of sheer number of times on the show, but the times that have been on and the times that we've talked with this person have always been an absolute pleasure. And also, whenever we've seen this person, I'm being vague on purpose, at conventions and shows and things like that, again, always been one of the nicest, kindest, and most welcoming people we've had the pleasure of chatting with. So joining us this week is Mr. Rich Woodall. Rich, thank you so much for coming back.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. And Alex, congratulations on the fiance. I did get the as I do every year, I get the Halloween card, and I saw that, and yeah, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, not many listeners know. A few select friends get a Halloween card from me. It's like how grandmothers used to do a Christmas letter. I instead do a Halloween card.
Yes.
And I'd have friends that help me put together pictures and agonize over what to write on the back. And so hopefully it just gets better and better.
It's something I look forward to every year.
It is without a doubt one of the highlights of how, because not only is Alex busy planning spooky episodes for this show, running the makeup department at the local theme park, doing scary stuff, working his regular job. Now he also has a fiance. He still manages to put these cards together, which are a lot of fun. I have them all literally right next to me. They're hung in succession on my corkboard. I stare at them all day while I'm working. They're very fun. They're very neat. I wish more people more people should do that. And they have here's what I've been up to on the back. They're just fun. They're fun cards. So the lesson here is make good friends with Alex.
Yes.
So you can get on his list.
It's a physical version of Facebook. Take. Instead of collecting, a bunch of posts and pictures and memes, you get one. And hopefully it's more meaningful. But I do want to say I couldn't do it without Nichelle Herrick and her husband David, who helps out. She takes all the pictures every year. She has ever since. And also when I need some editing here and there to touch them up, she does that too. So she's been on, the Herricks have both been on a few episodes with us. And you can find her on Instagram under Derelict Depictions, where she does a lot of great photography stuff and gets spooky pictures of creepy places I don't know if I'd want to walk inside myself.
They are two of the nicest people we have the pleasure of knowing. And it's fun. It's also neat to know that, I get the same card that Rich Woodall gets. That's neat. No. So, I mean, it's been a while. We were talking pre-show the last time we had the pleasure of chatting, because you've been on, I think this is going to be your fourth appearance, if I'm looking at things correctly.
I think that sounds right.
The first appearance being December of 2014, which... if you didn't feel old, or if you didn't, time is an illusion. was quite some time ago. And then we talked with you and Craig Rousseau with our friend Joe in June of 2015, and then we last chatted in May of 2019 in the before times when we were all so innocent and we had no idea what was coming.
Yes.
But it's been too long, and like I feel like it's lame. So what have you been up to? Because there's so much time and there's so much to cover.
Yeah, it's funny. So at the so what did you say? April of 2019? What was it?
May 11th, 2019 was episode 373.
Yeah. So I was probably pushing Electric Black at that time, maybe. And since then, Electric Black has done very well for itself, and it launched an entire imprint, horror and sci-fi focused imprint from Scout Comics, just based on the popularity of the Electric Black. They gave Joe, my partner Joe Schmalke, and I an imprint there. So we've spent the last year and a half all through the COVID and everything building up this comic company, which has done really, really well. So that's the large overview of what's been going on in the last year and a half or so since we talked last.
On the speaking, like I looked into the last episode, and you were running a Kickstarter at the time for the Savage Dragon Johnny Ray Gun and Sergeant Werewolf comic.
Oh, okay.
But I do recall there was a lot of Electric Black talk at the time.
Yep.
Yeah, I was probably starting. Yeah, the last couple of years it's been a blur because there's been so many books that I've been working on and had my fingers in. Between the Johnny Reagan Savage Dragon team up and the Sergeant Werewolf book and the Electric Black stuff, and then all the Black Caravan stuff, it's definitely been a crazy couple years.
Has this become a full-time job for you, or do you still have a normal full-time and this is what you've been managed to work through in your free time?
Yeah, this is all free time stuff. I still have the day job. I've got the golden handcuffs with that, where they pay me pretty well, and health insurance, all that stability stuff is very helpful. So this is all after hours and weekends. So it's get off work 4 or 5 and then work until 1 o'clock in the morning. and then Friday nights is a special kind of night. Sometimes I'll work till like 9 and then I'll take a nap until midnight. And then I go from midnight to like 5 or 6 in the morning, and then on comic stuff, and then take a little nap and then do it, I try to fit in like 2 or 3 hour naps on the weekend. And so my weekend goes from like, a chunk of 2 days to like a chunk of like 4 or 5 days, working hours.
I've read that, I don't know if it's still true, but when Brian Michael Bendis was writing for Marvel, and while he was still doing Powers with Image and everything, he would keep like third shift hours, because he would leave his house and go to an office and write at his office from like 11 p.m. until 5 a.m. or something, and he would sleep through most of the mornings. And he's like, it's so easy to focus. No one's bothering you at that time. No one's calling you. Like, there's not much to get in the way, and like, just don't have the internet. So then you get paid. You don't get distracted. You can do your work.
Yes, I've heard that about a couple, specifically writers. But yeah, I've heard similar stories where they'll keep third shift hours just so there's no outside bombarding them, because the internet is such a killjoy for work. It's awesome, I love it, but yeah, it's a total distraction.
It 100 like the little blog posts that we put out with each episode, just kind of describing what happened. I used to be like, oh, hey, we're talking to this person. Also, here's my thoughts on Game of Thrones. I realized I was very bad at that. No one wants to read that. So then it really turned into just highlighting who we're talking with. And a lot of times I have to force myself to like close the internet browser. You cannot, because I just sit there like, hey, man, I'll just browse Twitter for a minute and some inspirational strike. It'll be fun. Like
some quick research, and then we'll come back to it.
Yeah, an hour later, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, what have I done?
I should I could have been done by now if I wasn't stupid.
Yeah. I feel really, really horrible because I have friends that invite me places. I've got, all these things that I could be doing, but I'm so focused on work. I'm turning down, invitations to do fun stuff that keep people alive. And instead I'm doing all the, I'm coloring an issue, or I'm lettering something, or I'm designing out something or whatever. But yeah, it's the life I chose.
It is great to hear that, because the last, 18 months have been a roller coaster, depending on what career you're in and what your situation is. It could have been pretty rough, but it's always great to hear that, it didn't destroy everything, to put kind of, I'm not really sure how to put it, but to hear like, oh, hey, Rich Woodall has been busy as shit. He's been making comics. It's reassuring. It's nice to know,
it's funny. I mean, if anybody that's following, comics and the market right now knows, the kind of craziness that Diamond's going through right now, and kind of the distribution wars between Diamond and Lunar and Penguin and Simon and Schuster. Like everybody's trying to get into it now, and it's kind of a nutty, landscape. But one of the things that really got us through is Scout did a really, really good job. Scout is the parent company of Black Caravan. Scout did an excellent job reaching out to retailers through the pandemic and said, hey, Diamond's not distributing right now, but we can sell direct to you. We want to make sure that you have books, coming to your store. We'll work out deals with you guys. And they kept, Scout actually grew through the pandemic, where, there's a lot of companies like Valiant. I was doing a cover for Valiant right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I think I was done inking it, and I got an email from the editor saying, hey, pencils down, don't do anything else. Like we're kind of shutting down for a while. And they were shut down for months. So it's kind of crazy to see how different publishers dealt with this, and Joe and I saw it as an opportunity to launch Black Caravan, and we spent all of our extra time crafting out the next year and a half of books to come out.
That alone sounds like a Herculean effort, to have to contact other stores and be like, no, we'll have books ready for you, we'll ship them to you, to not have to grind through Diamond and their distribution and their previews and everything. And well, you know what? We also got super lucky that the printer that we use, Comic Impressions, is in Florida. And as you guys know, Florida did not shut down. They pushed their way through it. I think half the staff there did get COVID at one point. But they kept printing our books, and they kept shipping our books. So we were really, really lucky that we had a printer that didn't shut down. Like all the stars kind of aligned for us.
in the most perfect kind of way for us to just keep going and have a successful launch.
What was it like kind of getting to that decision, like just to, you know what, I feel like launching my own imprint. Let's do it. Like, so what was that process like?
So we had been talking to Scout in October of 2020, or no, sorry, 2019. Got to get my years straight here. Yeah, we were talking to Scout in October of 2019. I think that's when we made it official that we were going to launch our imprint. So we'd already, we had the electric black. We knew that was going to be pulled over from Scout and be kind of our headliner. And Joe had done a lot of work for Super 7, the toy company, doing package art for Phantom Starkiller. And he was good friends with Peter, the creator of Phantom Starkiller, and said, hey, we could take that toy and we could make a comic book out of it. And Peter was all for it. And kind of just having electric black and this kind of known property in the toy world with Phantom Starkiller, like, it was such a great base to build everything else on, that everything felt good. Like we knew we were doing something that was going to be cool. We weren't really scared, which maybe we should have been. We had also launched an electric black Kickstarter in March of 2020. So that was like right before everything started shutting down. Or actually, it was like the month when things started shutting down. So halfway through the Kickstarter, we started losing backers, and everything was slowing down. We're like, oh man, this is going to be bad. People are losing their jobs now, and we didn't know what was going to happen. In the end, it was it ended up we were fully funded plus some, so it was all fine and everything. But it was such a crazy time, and that kind of we sat there and Joe and I, we talked to each other pretty much every morning, and what are you doing? I'm doing this, and back and forth. But we had a couple discussions on, what's the market going to look like in a month? What's it going to look like in 6 months? Like, so then us scheduling out, the 2020 year, was kind of stressful. Like, this is our inauguration year. There's no conventions. There's, but we want to launch on these big dates and everything. San Diego is your normal July huge convention. Well, we're going to do our own convention in July, just the two of us, and we're going to do, video stuff. So we kind of made our own way and pushed our way through. And again, with Scout having the contacts with all these different retailers was super helpful, because then we went to the retailers and said, hey, we're trying something new here. We have some pretty big properties, some things that we think you guys will be able to sell. And hey, do you want to take a chance on this? And a lot of them did. So it was pretty cool.
So I was looking up a little bit on Phantom Starkiller, because I forgot how I originally came across it. I was with my friend John. I think we might have spotted something at 5 Points Fest a few years ago.
Yes.
John's a big fan of figures and toys and stuff. He knows that he always sees what's coming out new from Super 7. And he's like, oh, there's this character, Phantom Starkiller, and he's this and he's that. And he's explaining it to me. And this was a couple of years ago. And I try looking it up. It's like, oh, it's a new comic book coming out in 2021. I'm like, how does John know about this 3 years ago? And so I finally got to look it up a bit more. And it was, well, I had the thing. Where'd it go? I saw we had that stuff.blogspot.com did an article in 2020 about Peter Gorel, who first made it in 2013.
Yes.
And what was it? It was Killer Bootlegs.
Bootlegs. Yeah, that's his like studio name or what he calls them. A lot of them have the fake names to.
Yeah, like Sucklord does a lot of figures.
Yeah, you're right, exactly.
No one's gonna know who Sucklord is who's listening to the show.
Right, right.
But it's like, the first run had like 25 figures and that was it.
Right. Yeah.
And then he just starts making different colorways, and like we're familiar with colorways because Jared and I each have a couple of vinyl figures.
Yeah.
And so seeing that, and then Super 7 got in on a deal and they're making some Phantom Starkiller, and now there's at least like 12 different variations.
Yeah, there's a ton, and now with our deal and friendship with Peter, Scout has launched its own toy company that Peter is heading up. So now Phantom Starkiller is officially part of Tracker Toys. And actually they're going to do a Kickstarter, I think the day after Thanksgiving is when it launches, and it's going to be a new Phantom Starkiller figure and a Julius Black figure from the Electric Black.
Yeah, I think you had shared it, and so I followed that.
Yeah,
I got the notify me on launch button ready to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like it might be difficult or strange to try and pitch this idea to comic shops, being like, we have this property, it's only ever been an action figure,
right?
But it's pretty popular.
It's a weird thing. We got really lucky in that there were a handful of shops that knew what it was, and they bought in big time. And it had enough of a fan base that the fans were going to shops telling them that they should get behind this. And so we had a nice ramp up to kind of get sales going. But I can't remember exactly how many. We did like 24 store variants with Phantom Starkiller. So it was crazy putting that book together and doing 24 different variant covers and everything. But yeah, it sold a ton of copies. It was awesome.
Just hearing 24 variant covers.
Yeah.
The logistics, and not to mention the talent and creativity needed to put that together. Like everything, it's so easy, especially now and over the last 18 months, to just to just be sad, and I don't want to do anything, and I want to be lazy today, and I'm gonna play video games all day long.
Oh, I'd love that. I don't remember. I can't remember. Somebody asked me not too long ago, like, "Oh, hey, do you like take breaks and play video games?" And I'm like, the last video game I played was the year Red Dead Redemption came out. I got it for Christmas, and I had like a couple days off for Christmas, and so I spent like 2 days playing that. And I haven't turned on my PlayStation since then.
Wow.
So yeah, it's I'd love to play video games and have downtime sometime.
Right.
When we saw members of Super Art Fight do a panel called the Jamie Noguchi method, one of the people in the audience asked, like, well, how do I commit to making my thing? And he's like, I can't really get the time, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and it's like, just organize myself. And like, I think it was Chalmers who his first question was, do you play video games? The guy goes, yeah, and everyone goes, stop.
Right.
That was the only.
Yeah, it really is like it. There's a lot of people that are very fortunate, and they get their Jim Lee, Marvel, DC. You're an established artist. You don't really have to worry about. He's not going to have to worry about what's his next gig or whatever.
Yeah.
But, a lot of this is it's sacrificing what you really want to do for, it's investing in yourself. It's putting that time into a property that or a company that you believe in. And you have to sacrifice going out with friends, or you have to sacrifice watching TV or playing video games and stuff. But if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out how to do it.
It's also easy to go ahead, Ox.
It's nice to relax and like spin down with that sometimes. but
Yeah.
it's not always something you can put your name on and like show
Right.
like I did this. It's like
Yes,
someone just did it better. So what? But
right.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also easy to forget that, like, this is your livelihood. This is, like Alex and I have our regular day jobs, and if it's we don't have a guest this week, let's push the episode to next week. We're not gonna lose
Right.
money on that.
Right.
It's this is your day job. This is your nut, if you want to. I'm quoting Step Brothers now. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not going to happen unless you do it.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. And I get a lot of people that come up to me at conventions when there are conventions, and they'll show me their portfolio or whatever, and it'll be maybe all pinups or something, and I'm like, well, what is your ultimate goal? Do you want to just do pinups? Do you want to do covers? Do you want to do do you want to do a comic book? And a lot of times, most of the time, they'll say, oh, I want to draw a comic book. I'm like, well, then you have to draw a comic book. Like, you have to draw sequentials, or else you'll never get that experience to show those pages to get better.
Right.
So it's, if you want to do something, then you have to, if you want to design a video game, then figure out how to design a video game and actually do it. But talking about it doesn't do much.
Even with all of the insanity and the craziness that you've managed to put out, making an imprint and making all these comics and Kickstarters, one thing I did want to point out is, and I meant to mention it in my intro, but I got so caught up in trying to embarrass Alex, it just slipped my mind. I wanted to point out that you are arguably, at least in my eyes, one of the hardest working people on Patreon. You are far and away the most active and I don't know the right word. Your Patreon is very much worth the money if you're looking for behind the scenes stuff on Rich Woodall, and you are consistent, and it's always like, oh, hey, another Rich Woodall update, like sometimes multiple per day.
I always feel like I'm not doing enough, but I appreciate that. I think maybe that's, I think anybody that's probably doing Patreon feels like they're probably not doing enough, but I appreciate that. I have a lot of fun with it, and I always feel bad when I get into like production mode with a Black Caravan thing, and I'm like, oh, I got to scramble and figure out what to post that's not somebody else's work necessarily.
And you mentioned that you're not necessarily posting as much as you think you should be. Like, I currently back 5 people on Patreon. One of them I didn't even know shut down their Patreon a year and a half ago. It's just and another one hasn't taken any payments in like 6 months because they feel bad because they're not actually making anything. Like, so I feel like you're doing real well, at least compared to.
I appreciate that.
It's definitely been it. Do you see Patreon still? Because we talked about it, I believe, last time you were on. Do you think Patreon is still a valuable tool for creators these days?
Yeah, I think so. I wish I could. So right now my Patreon consists of. So I'm writing and coloring Gods of Brutality. And just the quick pitch for Gods of Brutality, it's a rock star from the 80s that dies, goes to hell, prays to Thor and Hercules to come and save him, and they do.
Nice. So
right now my Patreon consists of all the pages that I'm coloring, and eventually lettering on there, and then every once in a while I'll post some cover stuff that I do for the Turtles or whatever. I think Patreon's a great place to build an audience. My audience totally like comes and goes. Like I'll have it usually goes between 20 and 40 people. And, you know, people will jump in for a couple months and they'll get what they want out of it and jump out, or they'll stick around, you know, and check out more things as I post them. But I think it's a great platform. I really do wish I had more time to go back to when I was posting a new strip a week with like Sergeant Werewolf. Mm-hmm. That was a blast. But I would love to do that again at some point. Maybe when I don't have the day job, I can do a Patreon specific comic strip. But until then, you get updates with all the stuff that's probably going to come out through Black Caravan.
One of my favorite things, aside from you being the nicest person in comics that we know, is how you keep up.
Some more people.
you keep up your sense of humor like constantly. And around the time of the J. Scott Campbell getting his art corrected, you had shared a post, and it was like, I think it might have been pencils or inks of a Gods of Brutality page, and he was like, "Oh wait, I fixed this." And it was just like a loosely drawn, like, you know, in a Photoshop, like drawn a layer over the original page. And it was just like 3 sexy Mary Jane poses over like all the main characters. And it was just the same pose, like, of her doing that kneeling thing. It's like, look, I fixed all these things.
I fixed it all. Yeah, I think we got to poke fun at ourselves. Like, if you can't poke fun at yourself, then, you know, I don't know. I can't take myself. I have a bad problem actually, where I've got a lot of friends that have known me for a very, very long time. And so we all have these, you know, inside jokes with each other. You know, my art rep, I've known my art rep's Bob Shaw. Mm-hmm. I've known him since I was like 17 or 18. So I've known him for forever. And he knew me. We always joke, we knew each other when we were skinny. And it's one of those things, like a couple years ago, we see each other and it's jokes and stuff, and we're poking fun at each other online and stuff. And I went through a phase where I was like, I really need to be serious. I need to be serious Rich Woodall. And I need to, you know, if I want to get anywhere in this industry, I need people to take me seriously. Mm-hmm. And so I had a conversation with him, like, Bob, can we not, like, I don't care if we joke in person and stuff, but if we're around other creators or online or whatever, can we tone down the joking? Because, like, if you joke and you call me tubby and tell me to go eat a jar of mayonnaise, then these creators are going to be like, oh, well, he's just, you know, he's a tubby kid that needs to go eat a jar of mayonnaise. And, you know, I went through that phase, and then I just realized, like, I just got to be me, and I gotta have fun with things. And I'm never going to be 100% serious all the time. And you know, it's more fun to joke around with stuff. And, you know, doing the Black Caravan stuff, I realized that I can be fun me and still get somewhere in the industry, you know?
It's like, it might feel good trying to be serious and trying to be respected, but it's not as much fun.
Oh, it's definitely not as much fun. No, because the entire time in the back of my head, I'm making jokes, and I'm like, I can't say that. But yeah, being fun and joking around is way better. And it's the same thing at work. Like, my day job. Thankfully, my boss is amazing, and she cuts me a lot of slack. And on a regular basis, I will throw jokes at her because I know I can't throw them at anybody else, and she, you know, she appreciates them. And so she's kind of my outlet of. I've got like 2 or 3 people at work that are kind of my outlet for my jokes when things are getting a little too serious.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna have to find that picture to put on the post.
Oh man, what a mess that was. So where was I going? I wanted to talk because we've briefly touched on it, and it's kind of come up with most of the artists that we've chatted with. It was, especially when we get toward the end of our episodes, we always say, oh, what conventions, what appearances are you going to be doing? And then the last year or so, it turned into a lot of, are you? If you have anything coming up, I guess, but there wasn't a whole lot of it.
Right.
With things opening, have you been actively going to any conventions yet as things have been opening up more and more?
Yeah, I think I did four conventions this year. Let's see, I did Granite Con. I did the Little Giant show in Concord, New Hampshire. I did Baltimore. And just did Rhode Island a couple weekends ago. And they were all, really good. They were well-attended shows. It made more money than I usually do, I think, because of the Black Caravan stuff. I've got a table that, if you like, 10 different things, I've got 10 different things there, which is great. But yeah, the convention scene has been interesting this year. It's just opening up. People, I don't know if you guys have attended any shows or not, but it feels like people really, really want to get back to it. Everybody's been, they have all the shows have been great where they require masks or whatever. They make the guests feel very comfortable. Yeah, it's been weird but cool. The first two, I think it was Little Giant and I think Granite Con, and those two shows, it was just so weird because you don't feel like we hadn't set up in a year and a half, and just trying to figure out how am I going to set up my table? I haven't done it in forever, and I've got all this new stuff, and it's a different problem, a challenge that you have to kind of figure out while you're there. And I finally feel like by Rhode Island, I figured out what I was doing. And now I'm not going to have another show until maybe Heroes next year. So that's, there's going to be another gap of, I'll probably do a bunch of store signings. I know Jetpack Comics, I'll probably do a signing or two just because it's my local shop. But yeah, it's been weird but cool.
Were you we've talked with a couple people, and I also I follow a lot of people on the internet and all that stuff, and it got to the point where some people were almost saying yeah, conventions are cool, but I've kind of gotten used to this. I like sitting home making art and making my money through that. I'm not really dying to go back to go. Were you chomping at the bit to go back, or?
A little yes and a little no. We definitely found that we don't need a convention to sell to everybody, because everybody is so connected now, that Joe is really good at it. Joe is he opens and closes his shop. So he makes an announcement, hey, I'm opening this weekend, which I believe he is opening this weekend. For any of those that are interested, but he'll open his shop once a month or maybe once every 2 months, and he gets a nice crowd of people coming in, and yeah, we did our Black Caravan Con kind of thing where we sold a black box that has the Black Caravan logo on it and everything, and we had a bunch of exclusive covers just for that box, and we did really, really well just doing that for ourselves. I guess the biggest thing is you're talking to the audience that already knows you, whereas going to conventions, you have the chance to meet new people and kind of reach out and get a whole new audience, into whatever you're working on. So while I love just staying at home, it's my favorite thing to do besides sleeping. doing conventions is a lot of fun, and we get to meet people face to face, and it's like you guys probably know this. It's like a family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go and you see all these guys that you've been talking to online, that you haven't seen in a year and a half. One of my good friends, Chris Campana.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got a chance to see him 3 times this year, and 3 out of the 4 conventions I did, he was at, and so, you know, that was really cool, because you know, you end up missing these people that they are your family, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All you got, like both other creators and fans and everything. I'm just as much family with fans as I am with other creators. So there's several people that, you know, I'm very close to, on both sides of the table.
We haven't made our grand reappearance yet at a show. We've been combination of just too busy and also just not quite sure yet.
Sure. Yeah.
But it is good to know, and I haven't seen. I mean, I also haven't been looking, and I don't follow too many. Like, it's not like I follow every creator under the sun.
Sure.
But I haven't seen any horror stories. For most of everything that I've been seeing was, you know, the convention was very good. There were, I guess the most I've seen is, you know, well, some people were clearly walking around without masks on, you know, something like that. But
yeah, there's always some of that. Yeah, I think. You know, the smaller shows, I wasn't as concerned as I was the bigger, like, yeah, Baltimore. I was. It's my favorite show of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to doing that show. It's such a creator-centric show and so comic focused. I absolutely love that show. Mm-hmm. And but it was the show I was the most worried about, because you've got air travel, you've got you know, staying in a hotel, and then you're talking about, I don't know what their attendance, 20, 30, 40,000. I don't know what their attendance is, but it's tens of thousands of people.
Mm-hmm. And
you're like, holy shit. Like, you know, if I'm going to get sick, this is totally the place I'm going to get sick at. But fortunately I wasn't sick. None of the people that I know that went got sick. So it was, you know, it was good. It seems like all the precautions worked. And outside of the like lady that was 3 aisles behind me on the plane sneezing constantly, everything seemed pretty good. But yeah, it's still weird, and I think it's going to be weird for at least another year or two.
Yeah, I just had a friend who would post about, like, saying, I'm seeing these pictures and I see my friends at these conventions, and I know you're planning on going to this next convention like in 2 weeks. So take one of that home tests. Just grab a test before you head back out.
Yeah, that's another. Joe will test himself like once a week if he can. Mm-hmm. So he's like, oh, I went to the store getting a test. You know, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, yeah, you got to be careful. And anytime there was like, oh man, I got a sniffle or something, like we go get a test just to make sure, like, it's not something worse than what it was.
And this not to become an advocate for at-home tests or anything like that, like the service, at least that we had here, we're in Connecticut. My wife we were eating dinner a couple weeks ago, just sitting there having dinner, and then my wife stopped eating and she said, I can't taste my food right now.
Oh no.
So a little bit of a freak out with her being immunocompromised.
Yeah.
And she went online to Walgreens, like ordered a at-home rapid test thing, and then had one. It was delivered to our door 20 minutes later.
Oh, no kidding! Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was wild. She ended up. Test came back negative. Like, you know, there's the whole: are the at-home tests accurate? Are they as accurate as like the legitimate one? Like, that test came back negative, and we just kind of sat and waited. Like, right. But everything worked out. Worked out okay. You know, if she did happen to catch anything, you know, she is vaccinated. So,
nice.
But it's kind of wild. So if you're at a show and you think, "Ooh, you know what? Maybe I should just hit up Walgreens." This is an unpaid sponsorship, Walgreens. That was some great service.
Order a rapid test and some Diet Coke and chips or something, and
you're golden. Like what else? What?
Just like mere 2 hours ago, I signed up to get my booster.
Yeah.
And since it's at a 24-hour CVS, I booked it for 2 a.m.
Oh.
No way.
Because like I'll get the booster, and then an hour later I'll just go into work.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
What a time to be alive.
No kidding, right?
Oh man.
And it's that's awesome.
We definitely hope to be back. I do know I've been seeing a lot more shows have kind of elevated from mask or vax or negative COVID test required to just straight up, you got to be vaxxed. That's it. Like, and you have to wear a mask. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, full stop.
Baltimore was like the hardest line I've seen from a show, and they were you had to show proof of vaccination and you had to wear a mask the entire time, and they were very specific about all the mask requirements and everything, and that was, again, it made me as a creator feel protected, which was not.
You absolutely would not want to be the show to have your legacy be there was a massive outbreak. Like your convention was a super spreader event.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's going to haunt you.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
Okay. So Black Caravan. I'm going to go back to that.
Yeah. Sure.
So from the books that are on here, there's a couple I recognize, and then I see
you looking at the website?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, it's very outdated. I'm the guy who has to update it, and I'm a little behind.
Well, there's also a bunch on the Instagram page too.
Yes, that's probably more up to date.
So when I first saw it, I was like, oh, of course, Perhapanauts. That this is the perfect home for them to come back.
Yes.
So that was fun, and then seeing other books come on there. Now, like they can't all just be you and Schmalky
and Joe, right?
So, were you getting submissions, or were there other titles like looking for home at Scout, or were people actively looking for places to get published?
So we got really lucky, because when we set out, Joe and I said, okay, we don't want this to be the Woodall Schmalky show. We're going to create content, of course, but we want to make sure that we're one of a stable of creators. And we've got kind of a mix of things like the Perhapanauts and the Shepherd, which is the Shepherd's a title that was at Caliber Comics.
Oh,
a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Andrea Molinari and his son, they write the Shepherd, and they're also editors of a lot of our books and a lot of Scout books. Andrea is, and so we've got a mix of these books that have been published elsewhere that maybe didn't get enough attention. Again, like the Perhapanauts, it was at Dark Horse first, and then it went to Image, and now it's with Black Caravan. And one of the things that we set out to do with specifically the Perhapanauts was they had 4 trades, I think, between Dark Horse and Image. Yep. And every trade was so different. And I've been friends with Todd and Craig for forever, and I said, I want to take everything you guys have done, throw some extra stuff in it, because all the stuff that they do, we've got at least 10 pages of new content in every issue, and I want to collect it and make it look really cool on a shelf. Mm-hmm. So when we have our 6 or 7 volumes of the Perhapanauts, they're going to look like they belong together. So we have stuff like that's really, really cool. And then we have new products, our IPs that just kind of fell in our lap through submissions. Things like Black Friday, which just kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm not sure how John Clark found us, but we're glad he did. And that was a really cool book. And we're doing other books with John. John's got another story coming out early next year called Playthings. And then we have, kind of similar to John, we're kind of getting creators that have multiple properties, and we can keep working with them over and over. So the guys who do Providence of Madness, those guys. So it's Kieran Taghan. I'm totally destroying his name. Christian Dabari and Simon Goh. Those guys as a creative team are amazing, and they're kicking out so much good stuff. They've got this Providence of Madness, which is a very Lovecraft kind of love letter. They have the sequel, and that's not really sequel, but kind of follow up, is Province of Secrets, which is more about the King in Yellow and like LA noir kind of stuff, which is really, really cool. But they've also got a book called Tales Told in Techno Horror. It's just a cool anthology, and it's short stories of creepy horror stuff that's awesome. And then Christian's got another book coming out through us called Rad Wraith that's about a kid that's a skateboarder who dies and comes back to seek revenge on a bunch of the asshole kids that killed him. So like we're really enjoying working with creators like that. This my favorite book is called Broken Souls Ballad. It's kind of New Mutants, but more dark. It's a bunch of kids that have been experimented on and stuff. And it's pretty dark, but the creator there, Massimo Rossi, he's got so much stuff, and he's an Italian creator that I believe he lives in Spain now. He's got other books that he's pitching us and that we're going to be doing later. So we start finding these creators that have multiple books, and that's been great. But yeah, it's all over the place. We've got I can't remember how many books we put out this last year. It's like a dozen different titles. And then next year we've got a whole another dozen, like a new dozen to put out. So it's really, really cool. I can't wait to get into next year and start launching some of these new titles.
Is there ever like a worry of, are we doing too much, or should we dial it back? Or if the audience is there, then let's go for it. Because it's my only, like, I guess, gripe is when something gets popular for a month and then we see a dozen of it. It's like Green Hornet came back. Well, now there's Green Hornet and Kato has her own book, and there's a history of Green Hornet. Now there's 5 Green Hornet books. And like Red Sonja becomes popular. So now there's 7 Red Sonja books, but then we have just one Invincible book that runs for 9 years?
Yeah, and even that had spin-offs. I mean, the Invincible Universe, and there was another one that kind of spun off from that. I don't remember, but we're trying to be more of a boutique kind of thing, and keeping it small. We have let's see, April of next year we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 books that are coming out. And that's for us a lot of books,
right?
But we're also trying to give everything its own spotlight. So in 2021 we tried to only have 1, sometimes 2 number 1s come out in a month, but we tried to make sure they were spaced apart. But that way every title has its own kind of spotlight. October was a crazy month. We had 3 number ones. No, we had 4 number ones. So it was nuts in October. We had like 2 trades and probably 9 books, and that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff. Because again, Joe and I are doing all the production work on everything, all the design work on everything. We're overseeing all the books. So we can't take on, a lot ourselves, and still produce stuff. Joe is a lot better at it because that's his day job. He creates comics and oversees Black Caravan stuff as his day job. So he gets to do a lot more of the creation side, whereas I'm doing a lot more of the production stuff, kind of nights and weekends. So I'm slowly working on creative stuff, but it's a lot more slow than I'd like it to be.
It's funny. It's slowly putting out when you've done more in the last year than I could. We do 2 episodes a month, and I'm like, oh God, I do so much work.
You feel like you're in a marathon, right? Like you're like, oh, right. Yeah.
And keep in mind when we started recording remotely, Alex took over one of my main responsibilities, which was the actual physical recording and then exporting and editing anything that needed to be cut out, all that stuff. Alex has been doing that for me, so I just post it.
Got the easy stuff. Like it.
I'm still all woe is me about it. I'm old and tired.
You know what? That's isn't that the great thing about having a partner that can do everything? When you can both do, no, seriously, because you guys can support each other when one person can't, maybe do everything a certain time, and the other one can pick you up. And that's where Joe and I, come from with Black Caravan is, since we both come from the self-publishing background and we both can letter, color, design, do all that stuff. Like, it's really nice that if one of us is way too busy, we can just throw it at the other one, and the other one can, we don't have to worry that it's either not going to be done or not get done right.
All right. So
this is where we I'm
sorry,
next.
I got distracted.
Okay.
I got distracted by my sister sending me. My sister's getting married soon, so like wedding dress stuff is starting to happen, and I'm like, I actually care about this.
Right.
Anyways, I apologize for the the distraction there. As we wind down, we've kind of been touching on the thing that we always touch on toward the end, anyways, because you have so much as it is. And excuse me, we talked about upcoming shows and how Heroes is going to potentially going to be your next one. There's always the socials. Where can people find your work? We did mention the Patreon. I don't know how active on Twitter, Instagram, or anything like that. Where can people go to find your work? Do you have any appearances coming up? Books to look out for in the next couple weeks?
Let's see. So Gods of Brutality issue 3 should be hitting stores at some point. There's as people probably know, there's a giant paper shortage right now. So it's hitting our printer like it's hitting every printer out there. I know everything we do is a couple weeks late at this point. But yeah, so my next issue is Gods of Brutality number 3. As for signings and stuff, I'm trying to think. I'm sure I'm going to do a signing at Jetpack. I just can't remember when. If anybody wants to see me, go to Jetpack Comics in Rochester, New Hampshire, and I'll probably be there on the weekend or something. Yeah, I don't have anything else really. I'm on the Facebooks. I have a Twitter. I don't think I've been on Twitter for several years. Same thing with Instagram. I know I have an Instagram, but I'm really bad. I'm so focused on, like, again, if this was my day job, would be on all that stuff constantly to make sure that I'm reaching maximum capacity, to reach the masses. But since I only have limited time on social media, I stick to my Facebook, and that's where you can find me.
You had mentioned how Gods of Brutality 3 is the next issue. One neat thing is I'm currently looking at pages of Gods of Brutality 4 because I have that sneak peek insider shit on Patreon. So if that's something that interests you, if you like getting those behind the scenes stuff, I'm looking at something that doesn't even exist yet.
That's true.
So if you want to be jealous, if you're tired of being jealous, you can go back and support Rich on Patreon.
Right, and it's as cheap as $1 a month, and you can see all the stuff that's coming up for pretty much anything that I work on.
Rich is always. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm looking at Caravan on Instagram.
Yeah,
and looks like promos for the figures for the upcoming Kickstarter were posted merely 10 hours ago. And also there's a lot of info on the other comic books that get made.
Yes. Yeah. We have somebody that works on our Twitter page and our Facebook page for social media, and she does an amazing job. She's also Vero. She's also I'm teaching her how to design stuff, so that's pretty exciting that we're building out the Black Caravan kind of family with designers and everything now. But Black Caravan on Instagram and Twitter and the Facebooks also.
Okay, it's time to be sad.
Oh no!
Because it is about that time. We don't want to. I know you're a very busy man, but thank you again for coming on and doing this, and always being so incredibly kind to us and giving us your valuable time to come on and chat with us about comics and making comics and reading comics, and it's always been a pleasure. We can't thank you enough for doing this.
Well, thank you guys for having me on so many times, and B, talking to me at conventions and stuff. I definitely miss seeing you guys, and I hope to catch you at a show in the next year or so. And good luck with whatever you guys evolve into or change up to or do next. I know it's going to be pretty awesome, and I'm excited to see whatever you guys do.
Thanks,
Rich Woodall. Honestly, hopefully we can get back to a show sometime, because it has been, I think the last time we saw you was a Boston Comic-Con, maybe.
Sounds about right.
It's probably a Boston.
Maybe New York. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, all right, we have to end. Huge thanks again. Go buy some Rich Woodall comic books. Get your Electric Black fix. Support the Patreon. Go follow on all those. It's just support creators. That's what we like here. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, that's about all I got. Now I'm sad. All right, I'm gonna end this now. And I'm gonna go be sad by myself. So until next time, I've been JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm still Rich Woodall.
And this has been episode 439 of Opinions May Vary. Hey everyone, if you liked that episode, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Opinions May Vary, and on Twitter and YouTube at OMV Podcast. You can also find us on Spotify or on our very own website at omvpodcast.com. And if you're looking for merch, we have stickers and pins available over at omvpodcast.bigcartel.com while supplies last. As always, thank you so much for listening. Let us know what you thought in the comments, and we will see you next time.